Hi everyone and welcome to the latest episode of Just Good Games. So it's pretty much the end of the year and you know what that means. Yes, it's time for a best of list. To be honest, 2021 hasn't been the best year for games due to the many delays to some of the big hitters. Just meaning it's been a bit thin on the ground with big releases and just sort of releases in general. But when a AAA title has been released, it's usually been on the money. There's a few exceptions to this, looking at you GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition and Battlefield 2042. Now this is my best of the list and I can only base it on games that I have played this year. So unfortunately there is no Halo Infinite, It Takes Two and Metroid Dread. I'm pretty sure I will be playing these games in the future, but I just haven't gotten around to playing them yet. So these are my top 5 games of 2021. But before we get into this, I would like you to do one thing, and that's hit that subscribe button please. Guardians definitely has to go down as one of the surprise hits of the year, as I don't think many had high hopes for it after the Avengers game debacle. But like the ragtag group of misfits, it manages to pull one out of the bag. Guardians is a really good, tight, linear, story-driven 15 to 20 hour experience, and I love it for being that, as there's not many AAA games that are like this nowadays. There's no forced open world or not too many collectibles either. What there is though is some great and surprisingly layered team-based combat, an emotional story that is worthy of the Guardians comics, great looking graphics, an awesome soundtrack and spot on humour. Some were a bit put off by the fact that you only play as Star-Lord, but to be honest I think that works really well as it allows for a more focused story and more focused combat, and you still do get to use the rest of the Guardians via a leadership menu that allows for some special attacks when in combat and for some special abilities while traversing this awesome world. Overall, if you're looking for a linear, story-based experience, then Guardians of the Galaxy is as good as they come. When Kena Bridge of Spirits was first announced, it seemed like it would be a AAA PlayStation 5 exclusive, but it ended up being more of a AA exclusive, and that is fine with me. Kena, or Kena as some might say it, definitely feels like an indie game with a AAA budget. Kena, like Guardians, is quite a linear experience, but with some semi-open world areas and more collectibles than Guardians, definitely. The world of Kena Bridge of Spirits is the real star of the show, as it is absolutely gorgeous, and although the combat is rather simple, it is still very enjoyable and can actually have a bit of a Souls vibe to it when you play it on the higher difficulties. The story is very well told, with not really a lot of dialogue, and there's a nice vagueness to it. Making your way through this broken world and fixing it with your cute companions the Rot is a must-play experience for any gamer who needs a break from the big open world experience. Kena makes the list for once again being just a really unique experience and having a great cast of characters who are able to tell a really good and emotional experience through their actions, the world and visions instead of a lot of dialogue. You can tell there's a bit of a theme with my games of the year. They are just great and unique single player experiences, and there is none more unique than Psychonauts. Before this game I was in a bit of a gaming lull, and this game really pulled me right out of it. The long awaited sequel was well worth the wait and just wins you over with its amazing art style and gameplay. Psychonauts 2 has a very old school style to it. It's platforming and it's old school platforming gameplay. It really could have come out a year after the original, and besides the updated graphics you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference, and this is why it is such a good game. It doesn't try to reinvent itself, it knows what it is and it does what it does very very well. The balls to the wall worlds, the outrageous characters and the old school style of gameplay mesh so well to make a truly out of this world experience. Raz is a great protagonist and the colourful cast of characters all stand out. The puzzles are great and the combat, again, while basic, serves its purpose. This is on my list because it's a real throwback to the style of games that I loved playing in the mid 2000s, and there is nothing wrong with that. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is probably the first game that has really showcased what the PlayStation 5 is truly capable of. The graphics are probably the best I've ever seen on a console, and because of the quick loading times you can jump from world to world quickly, and warp into different areas becomes a great gameplay mechanic, which just wouldn't have been possible on any of the console generations before. Like all of the other games on my list, the story has real heart and emotion to it and is just a classic Ratchet and Clank space adventure. The addition of Rivet, a female Lombax, really adds to the dynamic of the group as, minor spoiler current here, pairing her up with Clank for a massive portion of the game allows for some great heart-to-heart moments between them and allows Clank to air his feelings about Ratchet to someone else. The gameplay is just classic Ratchet and Clank style, but turned up to the next level. So, innovative weapons, top drawer platforming, and big set pieces. This game is just so fun and the characters are really fleshed out, and it has that Ratchet and Clank humour that we all love. It's very close between the top two of my list, but the next game just edges this out, purely based on probably personal preference. Yes, that's right, my game of the year is Resident Evil Village. Is it perfect? No. Does the story make sense towards the end? No, it's a Resident Evil game for God's sake. But is it the best gaming experience that I've had this year? Oh hell yeah. The Resident Evil series has become one of my favourite gaming series over the past few years, and Village continues the hot streak that Capcom have been on with this series. Like most Resi games, it starts off with probably the best part of the game. Lady Dimitrescu's castle is an all-time classic Resident Evil location, and the game probably peaks at this point, but afterwards it throws in some classic action and some classic almost Silent Hill style corridor horror. This game is a bit of a cross between Resident Evil 4 and 7, so it's a nice blend between the horror and the action. The story is just as batshit crazy as you would expect, and the game has some very memorable / verging on all-time classic Resident Evil characters. In a lean year for gaming, Resident Evil Village has really stood head and shoulders above the rest of the awesome single player experiences that I have seemed to have only picked for my games of the year. So there you have it, my game of the year, Resident Evil Village. Thank you for making it to the end of the video. Let me know what your game of the year is in the comments below, as I'm pretty sure you will all disagree with me and pick some great multiplayer experiences, open world experiences and stuff like that. So all I need you to do now is go down there, hit that subscribe button, like the video and share this everywhere. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter and on Twitch, Just Good Games 18 on Twitch. Thank you for watching, and you have been watching Just Good Games.